History remembers kings, but sometimes a man appears who terrifies kings. Before Athens had walls, before Persia ruled the world, a child was born who did not belong to his own city. They mocked him, rejected him, and told him he would never matter. Years later, that same unwanted boy would burn his own city, trick the most powerful empire on earth, defeat 1,000,000 soldiers without matching their numbers, and in the end, be hunted by the very people he saved. This is not the story of a hero rising to glory. This is the story of a mind so dangerous even victory could not save him. This is the story of the Themistocles. When the sun rose over Greece, the sea turned gold. But not every child was born into a golden fate. In ancient Athens, a boy was born. His name was Themistocles. Yet the city rarely called him by his name. They called him half-blood son of a foreign woman. He will never be a citizen because his mother was not Greek. The lonely harbor while noble boys trained with swords, rode horses, and studied philosophy, the Themistocles sat at the port, watching ships. Hours passed, days passed. He studied waves instead of weapons. One day his father asked, "Why don't you become a soldier?" The boy replied, "A soldier wins a battle, but the sea wins wars." His father laughed. He thought the child was foolish. He did not realize it. Boy would one day defeat an empire in the water. The first humiliation boys pushed him out of their games. "You are not a citizen. You cannot sit in council. You will never lead Athens." He said nothing. But that night he looked at the sky and whispered, "I will not become ruler of Athens. Athens will be forced to accept me." A dream was born, not of a hero, but of a challenger. The harbor was his teacher. Didn't sit with generals. He sat with sailors. He didn't study warfare. He studied roots. Wind direction strayed patterns. Dangerous waters. Everything stayed in his memory. People said, "This boy will never be a warrior." They were right. He would not fight wars. He would design them. The prophesied. A festival of fortune teller arrived. The boy asked about his destiny. The man stared into his eyes, then hesitated. "You will either make Athens great or destroy it." The boy smiled. "To make a city great, you must first change it for the first time." The fortune teller feared a child. Youth without acceptance grew older. Yet Athens still rejected him. No noble blood, no wealth, no powerful family, but he had something else. Understanding of people. Sat with fishermen, workers, soldiers. And told them, "Land belongs to the rich, but the sea belongs to everyone." The idea spread like fire. His first political movie, a huge silver mine, was discovered in Athens. The elites wanted to distribute the money. Instant happiness. Instant silence. But the Themistocles proposed something radical. Coins bring comfort today. Ships protect generations. He addressed the public. One day an empire will come from the east, and it will not arrive by land. It will come by sea. People laughed, but the poor supported him. A vote was cast, and for the first time, the son of an outsider changed Athens. The silver became warships. Ending, and beginning that night he stood at the harbor. Dozens of triremes floated in the water. An old sailor asked, "Do you know who the enemy is?" Themistocles looked east and quietly answered, "Not yet, but he is already looking for us, far away." Another boy was growing into a king. One day he would march with the largest army on earth. His name, Xerxes, king of Persian history, had already decided. One day they would meet at sea. Athens now knew his name, but knowing a man and trusting him are different things. He still wasn't their leader, just the man who kept repeating one strange warning. The sea will save us, and every time people laughed. The danger no one saw years past. The ships he built stood waiting in the harbor. Citizens began to complain. "We built a fleet. Where is the war?" Money wasted, paranoia. Generals were bored. Politicians were irritated. The rich were angry. Then one night, a messenger arrived from the east. He was bleeding. Exhausted. Barely alive. He spoke only one word: Persia. After Marathon years earlier, Greece had defeated a Persian army at Marathon. To most Athenians, that meant safety. To Themistocles, it meant something else. A defeated king remembers. An empire never forgets. He stood in the assembly and said, "This was not the invasion. It was a warning." They answered, "We already beat them." He replied, quietly, "You defeated an army. I see a world coming." The room fell silent. The king, who was a moving empire, reports began to arrive. Cities burning, nations collapsing, rivers crossed, bridges built across the sea itself. One name spread across every mouth: Xerxes, not merely a king, a moving civilization. Stories claimed his army drank rivers, dryned, the earth shook beneath its march. Fear finally entered Athens. Yet some still argued, "We will build walls." The madness of Themistocles' council gathered. Generals spoke first. "We defend the city." Soldiers agreed, "We fight on land." Then Themistocles stood. "Neither walls nor land. We'll save Athens," they demanded. "Then what?" He answered, "We abandon the city." The chamber exploded. "Coward, traitor, he's insane." For the first time he shouted back, "A city is not stone. A city is its people." Silence. The empty capital. Decision was made. Women, children, elders were loaded onto ships. People wept as they watched their homes fade behind them. Temples emptied. Streets deserted. A soldier asked him, "What if the Persians burn Athens?" Themistocles replied, "Then they will burn rocks, not Athens." The burning days later, smoke appeared on the horizon. Persia had arrived. Temples shattered. Houses burned. The city turned to ash. From the ships, Athenians watched their world die. Many cried. Many believed it was over. But Themistocles looked calm. A man shouted, "We've lost." He answered softly, "No. Now the war begins." The trapped Greek fleet gathered inside the narrow strait of Salamis. Allied commanders panicked. They wanted open sea, because the Persian navy was massive. In open water, Greece would be erased. But Themistocles understood something simple. A giant suffocates in a narrow corridor. The Allies still refused. So that night, he sent a secret message to Xerxes. "The Greeks are escaping. Attack immediately. It was a lie. He invited the enemy into a cage the morning before his Trojan rise. The sea was silent. Then on the horizon, a dark line appeared, the Persian fleet, thousands of ships advancing together. A sailor whispered, "What if they win?" The Themistocles stared at the water. "Then freedom ends today." After a pause, he added, "And if we win, history changes forever." The sea waited, and the fate of civilization was about to be written on water. Night had passed, but the sun had not fully risen. Unnatural silence covered the Strait of Salamis. The kind of silence that exists just before a storm. Thousands of Greek rowers held their oars, dry lips, closed eyes, shaking hands, because today the battle would not be fought on land. Today, a mistake would not mean death. It would mean drowning. And the sea forgives no one. The enemy appears in the horizon. A dark shape began to grow. A dot became a line, then a wall. The Persian fleet had arrived. Ships upon ships. Row after row. So many the water disappeared beneath them. A young sailor whispered, "This isn't a battle, it's the end." Several Greek commanders lost their nerve. They rushed to the Themistocles. "We must retreat. There is still time. We sail into open sea." The Themistocles shook his head. "If we run, we die. If we stay, they die." The last speech stood at the front of his ship. The men waited. He did not shout. He spoke quietly, and the silence carried his voice. "They will use numbers. We will use space. They fight with power. We fight with thought." He pointed at the narrow waters. "This is not a battlefield today. It is a trap, and they have already entered it." Fear began leaving the sailors' faces. First impact Persian ships advanced quickly. They believed the Greeks were fleeing, but as their front line entered the strait, they realized something was wrong. There was no room. Ships behind pushed forward. Ships ahead could not turn. At that moment, Themistocles raised his hand. Now, Greek oars struck the water. Together, warships surged forward like arrows. The first collision. Wood shattered. Bronze screamed. Water exploded upward. A Persian ship split open. The sea swallowed the screams. The battle had begun. The sea becomes a prison. Persian fleet was trapped. Their large ships rammed each other. Archers couldn't aim. Soldiers fell before fighting. But the Greeks, every path preplanned, every turn calculated. Every strike intentional. Themistocles was not fighting. He was playing chess, and the Persian king did not yet realize had already lost. Before, the king's Xerxes sat upon a hill overlooking the battle. He had come to witness victory. Servants carried his golden throne. Scribes prepared to record his glory. Below him, his navy collapsed. Ships climbed over each other. Commanders screamed. Orders vanished in chaos. An advisor whispered, "There are too many ships and too little sea." For the first time, the king said nothing. The decisive momentum, massive Persian vessel charged straight toward the mystical ship. The crew panicked. "It will crush us." The Themistocles did not move. At the final heartbeat, he commanded, "Hard left oars." The Greek ship pivoted sharply and rammed into the giant vessel's side at full speed. The impact thundered. Water surged. The enormous ship slowly tilted, then sank. For the first time, fear spread through the Persian fleet. The empire breaks. By midday, the water was filled with broken wood, shields, and bodies. The Persian navy shattered. Thousands drowned. The rest fled. The Greeks did not chase, because the Themistocles knew, let the enemy run, so he can carry the story of defeat on the hill. The king stood. He understood. He had not come to conquer Greece. He had come to witness his own defeat. A quiet sea evening, the water calmed. As if nothing had happened. Sailors sat exhausted. Some laughed. Some cried. A young soldier asked, "Is the war over?" The Themistocles looked toward the horizon. "No, today we bought the world time." That day, not only a city survived. An idea survived. Freedom. After the victory of Salamis, Greece celebrated, but the Themistocles did not. He understood something others did not. Some wars end with swords. Others begin after victory. A hero and a threat. When he returned to Athens, everything had changed. The same people were once called him the Pharaoh's son, now called him savior. Crowds spoke his name in the streets. No decision was made without him. But power has a cost. Jealousy. Old noble families, generals, politicians. They no longer feared Persia. They feared him. A new Athens city had burned. The Themistocles declared, "We will not rebuild a city. We will build a power." He proposed massive projects. The great port of Pyrrhus, defensive walls. A permanent navy. Many resisted. "We are farmers, not sailors. We want peace, not war." He answered, "Peace is created by strength, not weakness." Construction began. Athens stopped being a city and began becoming a naval empire. And the rest of Greece did not like it. Sparta, watch Sparta, the dominant land power, sent a message: do not build walls. We are all safe. The real meaning: do not become stronger than us. The Themistocles understood. The most dangerous diplomats. I personally went to Sparta. But instead of negotiating, he delayed. He talked endlessly, changed topics, wasted time. Spartan leaders grew angry. "When will you speak seriously?" He smiled. Meanwhile, in Athens, the walls were rising. By the time Sparta learned the truth, it was too late. They could not stop it. The Themistocles had won a war without fighting one. The shadow of power. No, he was the greatest hero in Greece. But the higher he rose, the more enemies appeared. The people trusted him. Soldiers followed him. The masses admired him. Politicians wanted him gone. The accusation. Years later, a scandal erupted. A Spartan commander, Pausanias, was accused of treason with Persia. Investigations began. Then suddenly, another name appeared. The Themistocles was no proof. Only suspicion. In politics, suspicion is enough. The assembly voted. The man who saved Athens was declared a danger to Athens. Exile sentence. Leave the city. No trial. No defense. Exile. He stood at the harbor, the same harbor where he watched ships as a child. An old sailor asked, "You saved us. Why are we sending you away?" The Themistocles smiled. Cities fear their saviors because they remind them of their weakness. He stepped into the boat. This time he was not leaving after victory. He was leaving defeated by his own people. The final blow at fate was not finished. On his journey he learned Athens was no longer only exiling him. They wanted him captured and executed. He was accused of plotting with Persia. Now he was not just exiled. He was hunted. And in the entire world, only one place remained for him. Persia's very empire he had destroyed at sea. There was a time when the name of Persia made Greece tremble. And now, the greatest hero of Greece was traveling toward Persia. Fate never moves in straight lines. In the court of the after months of travel reached Asia Minor. The same land from which armies once marched to conquer Greece. Now he stood alone. No army. No city. No homeland. Only a name. Themistocles, enemy of Persia, was brought before a Persian governor. Hands rested on sword. Hilts. Any moment could be his last. The governor asked, "Do you know where you stand?" He replied calmly, "Yes. I stand in the land of the king, the first defeated." Silence filled the room. Then he added, "And that is why only I can be useful to him." The king's judgment was sent to the royal court. The empire, the throne, the power. But the king was no longer Xerxes. It was his son. The court stared at the man who had drowned their emperor's fleet. The king asked, "Why should I let you live?" Themistocles answered, "I harmed your father when he did not understand me. I can serve you because I understand the Greeks." Whispers spread. Then the king laughed. He did not execute him. He made him an advisor. A strange destiny. Defender of Greece became a lord of Persia. Cities were granted to him. Wealth. Honor. Comfort. He could have lived peacefully. But one thing never left him. The sea often stood at the shore, watching the water. The same water where he changed history. The final order years later, king summoned him again. "We will invade Greece once more. You will guide us." The room was silent. In that moment his entire life stood before him. Fight against his homeland, or give up his life. The last choice. He returned home. He did not sleep that night. At dawn he called a servant. He asked for a cup. He poured poison into it. Then whispered, "I used my mind for Greece. I gave my life to Persia. But I will raise my sword against neither." He drank. And when the news spread, many in Greece fell silent. They had exiled the man who saved them, and he had fought his final battle alone. Not on land. Not at sea. But inside his own conscience. The final truth. Themistocles defeated an empire but never won his own people. He preserved freedom. It died in exile. History gave him a strange title. The man who deceived the greatest empire, but never betrayed his principles. Even today the waves strike the shore of Salamis, and every wave repeats this same story. Semetimus' greatest heroes fight their last battle against themselves. And so, the man who defeated an empire could not find a place in his own city. He gave the world freedom, yet died in exile. Even today, the waves of Salamis hit the shore and leave behind one question: if he was a traitor, why did Greece survive? And if he was a hero, why was he cast out? Perhaps in the next story, we'll meet another figure history chose to hide rather than understand. If you enjoy stories that reveal the mind behind the battles, like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Because next time, we bring you a hero even his own gods refused to forgive.